What's up, what's up? It's time for Done Way Past Funny with your host, G.D. Fenderson. Join us as we discuss the art, science, and business of comedy with comedians and comedian adjacent. With this episode's guest, Glen Dunzweiler. It's time to get down and get dope with Done Way Past Funny. Hi, welcome to Done Way Past Funny, where we discuss the art, science, and business of comedy with comedians and comedian adjacent. I'm your host, G.D. Fenderson, Certified Forensic Humourist at large, but I'm losing weight. So I tell myself. My guest today is comedian adjacent Glen Dunzweiler. How's it going, Glenn?
It's going well. Thanks for having me.
Cool. If you don't mind, because not everybody knows everything about you like I do.
Yeah.
Give them a brief bio and how they can stalk you on social media if you want them to do so.
Sure. So apparently, Google says I'm the only Glen Dunzweiler on the planet. So if you can spell my last name, you can find me. And I'm on all the socials, and I have my website. So it's Glen with one N, Glen Dunzweiler, DUNZWEILER.com. Or you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, X, Facebook, LinkedIn, all of them.
Yeah. So you are. Well, first of all, I'm almost envious that there's only one of you on social media. That's my. When I first got on social media, I got on for the benefit of my mom, because I was living in Florida, she was living in Maryland, and I wanted her to be able to keep track on me without having to actually talk to me. So, and I went to join Facebook, and I typed in Glen Fenderson with two N's.
Yeah.
And there were 19 other Glen Fendersons.
Wow.
And I said, there's no way my mother is going to want to take the time to figure out which Glen is her son. And so I said, okay, I'll do Glen D. Fenderson. There were 12 of those. I
wow.
went, okay. So I did. So I shortened it to GD Fenderson because that's how I signed my name on my checks anyway. So it's not. I didn't create a comedy entity. I just said, okay, GD Fenderson, and that's it. And there were none. So I was the only one. And that's it. People say, well, how did you come up with the name GD Fenderson? It's like the process of elimination, you know?
Yeah. What I found, I've tried nicknames throughout my life. A lot of women like to feminize me, so they'll call me Glenda, Glendolyn, Glendwina, Glendilocks, and other people have had nicknames for me, but I have such a unique last name that combination with Glen it's just easy for people to find me. It may not be easy for people to spell my last name or say my last name first, but as I've been doing this for the last 11, 12 years, the entrepreneurial stuff, I just found you just hit people with Dunzweiler, and they'll get used to it. Yeah. And then I'm easy to find.
Yeah. Now, by chance, what is the ethnic origin of Dunzweiler? Do you know?
It's German. Yeah.
Okay. I should realize that. Yeah, the ZW. That kind of gives it away.
Yeah. And there are some Dunzweilers, I think, in Ohio. They set up a family went there and set up a realty business, and so they're like the famous realtors of Dunzweiler Realtors of Ohio. And then there's some Dunzweilers that set up in San Francisco, and that's kind of where I came out from. My father's family was in the Bay Area of Vallejo, San Francisco, and then moved to Sacramento. So there's a pod of Dunzweilers that are my direct family in Sacramento. But I don't run into Dunzweilers often. I actually started a Facebook group years ago called Dunzweilers, looking for other Dunzweilers. And they were really the Ohio Dunzweilers. There were the ones in the Bay Area. occasional couple smattered throughout the rest of the U.S., and then the rest of them are in Germany. And yeah, so it's that unique. And then no one has mixed it with Glen, because Glen is I think it's a
Celtic, I
British
think.
name, or it's
Yeah.
and people, it's just the combination doesn't exist. My parents said that they found one Glen Dunzweiler. It might have been a great uncle of my father, but they wanted something completely unique. They they decided it was either going to be Kurt or Glenn, but they decided Kurt Dunzweiler sounded too much like a Nazi.
I've said that they are marking you for life. Yeah, scarring you too. That's you're right. I don't even know much about German heritage, but when you say Kurt Dunzweiler, I'm like, oh no, Nazi. Yeah, that's a Nazi.
Yeah. So Glenn is I don't like, you may like Glenn, but we were talking, Glenn to me was always kind of a soft name, and I never really liked it. But I realized my name isn't for me. My name is for other people to find enjoyment, especially when I started running into people that wanted to make it a woman's name, or they just would call me a nickname. One of the guys that I went to school with, there's a Shakespeare character named Glendower. And so he would always call me Glendower, and that just gave him joy. I figured, you know what? Call me whatever you want. As long as you can find me, right? Just call me for dinner.
My mom used to say, I keep saying this, and it's not exactly true. It's Hollywood true. I will say my mom said, and the truth is, when I say my mom said, the truth is my mom never actually said it. What she did was give me lectures and lectures and lectures, and I reduced those lectures down to my mom said. Right. And so I've reduced a series of lectures over like 12 years to my mom said. There are no such thing as bad words, only bad intentions. Because otherwise, I'd have to give you the 12-year version of that lesson.
Right. Yeah. We live off of intentions, and you can argue about words. Sometimes words mean something to a lot of people. We get something that I'm a storyteller more than I am a comedian. Right. And more than a couple times, people have called me the N-word with the hard R. But what I found is, that word is not for me. And when I grew up in South Sacramento, a very diverse town in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And that word was never thrown around until, I would say, gangster rap really kind of pulled that out. But again, it wasn't my word. It wasn't for me. Even when I'm trying
white people invented that word.
I'm trying to tell the story about how this was used for me and against me or towards me. And the whole room, it just turned into tension about is the white guy going to say an N-word? I thought, I can't tell these stories because that's not what I want out of the room. I don't need that tension. I don't need that. So yeah, it's sometimes words mean something, and you can't get away from it, no matter what your intention is.
I know I didn't say this in the green room, but you can say and use any word that you feel comfortable with here. And if after you say it, you go like, can you bleep it out? I'll bleep it out.
So I wrote a script with my friend who's from the South Side of Chicago. He grew up in an all-black community. He didn't ever see or have a white person in his life until he moved out to Tacoma, Washington.
Okay.
And I wrote a screenplay with him about all his life's adventures, kind of, and still shopping it around in Los Angeles.
Is this the one about
Deuce?
Deuce, yeah, the Deuce.
Yeah,
the Deuce.
And so at one point, because he read this, I wrote the screenplay. And he read it and he said, there's a problem, man. You don't use the N-word. Except he actually said it. And I said, yeah, I know, it hurts. I can't write it. He said, you got to write it, man. And so I put it in. I think I put it in the script 6 times, and I said, "Is 6
Wow,
enough?"
then that when you know how many times you used it, that really hurts you.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
can't tell
it
you how many
hurts my
times I
heart.
said it today.
And then he says, because he's a good friend of mine, he said, "Well, you can use it." I said, "Man, are you trying to get me killed?" Like, no.
Well,
I
it's a
don't care
good
what
thing.
kind of card you give me that gives me permission. I'm not, look at me. I am not using that word.
Well, Tarantino doesn't. Tarantino throws it around like like he's serving slop on a tray.
Yeah. And he pays for it too. I mean, yeah, I remember Pulp Fiction and the bit about dead end storage. Does you have a sign? Hilarious. But after that, I didn't want to hear it from him anymore. Right. I was just like, now, but he uses it a lot. He finds reasons to use it in his movie.
Yeah, yeah.
And I, I, I don't know. I'd rather focus on something else because it's charged, man. I mean, it's not fun navigating the world with people that don't know you and trust you. I just rather not. There are other fights that I'd rather get in.
Now I have because I like I said, I don't care about words. I just care about intentions. And so the words don't really mean anything to me in that regard. I mean, the usage of them means a great deal. I and how words are used and the intentions, that means almost everything to me. But the actual word, like if I was telling a story and I said, it, when I tell stories, I tell true stories. And if in the actual story somebody said kike, and then people go like, and I would say it's okay, I can say kike because I'm a racist. And then so because most people say it's okay, I can say that because I'm a Jew, or it's like no, I'm not a Jew, but I'm not really racist either. But I just want to cut the tension a little bit because it's a true story, and to be honest, some stories don't happen in a vacuum. They happen in a time and in an era. I had friends. I'm in my 60s. I've had friends who would now be in their 90s and late 80s and stuff. I mean, friends I worked with, uh, and their sensitivities are totally different. With the 20-year, 30-year gap in our lives, totally different. And their viewpoints of what Black people were like, even in their lives, even though they themselves are not racist, they had a viewpoint and they used certain words that.
Yeah, people, the older generations have lived harder lives with in reference to society, right? They're just it's a harder world. It's not a harder life. It's a harder world. It's a less glossed over world. It's a more raw world, and they carry that with them. We've done our best to make the world as soft as possible,
Right.
for good or for bad. I think it's gotten a little too soft, and we're
Yes.
getting pushback from that because we're not able to communicate anymore.
Now, this segues into something that you do on a regular basis. Matter of fact, you had a show last night in real
Yeah.
time. In our time, you had a show last night. And by the time people see this, you had a show 2 weeks ago. So I'll say it both ways. You had a show 2 weeks ago. That's for the people later. You had a
Yeah.
show last night. How did the show go?
It went well. It was a storytelling show. It's my storytelling show. It's called Frank Honest Stories, No Rules. When I moved to Los Angeles in 2015, I found my people that I had been looking for my whole life, who
Okay.
were storytellers. And storytelling is a format that has kind of come out of the one person shows,
Yes.
but now it's a shorter format. Now it's kind of a stand-up format where each person, each storyteller gets 5, 7, 10, 15 minutes to tell a story, to take us on a ride, a one-person theatrical experience. And I found those people in 2016. And, we're always worried about marketing. You're talking about the business of comedy. Well, what gets the butts in the seats? What gets the tickets sold? And a lot of it is if you get a television spot, you get sold as celebrity, or a lot of it is in the storytelling world. there are themes. So you'll have breakup stories, or you'll have celebrity stories, and they'll roll these shows around themes. And what I found is each producer had rules with their themes. So in early 2016, I was going to this show, and this storyteller, because she was an animal lover, she said, you can't tell any stories that have that hurt animals, that have animals getting hurt in them. And I understand that. If you're a producer, it's your show, that's fine. But it just made me think, okay, well, what is storytelling? To me, it's the art of connection. And if you start putting rules in front of people,
Right.
like the words that they can use, and it inhibits that connection. So I came up with Frank, honest stories, no rules. And it was also this realization that storytelling is a craft that, like stand up, you can be good at, or you can be not good at, and you can get better at. But it's also really accessible to people that are not professional performers.
Right.
So I thought my show would be an ability to bring people in as well. So that's why I put the no rules. There were other storytelling shows that would say, these are performed storytelling
Right.
stories. These aren't written words, because some storytelling shows are writers that want to hear their words out loud.
Right.
Or there are storytelling shows where you're allowed to read the word, like poetry almost,
Right.
and the ones that I got into were kind of the performing storytelling shows. But we had last night, I had a performer. She's amazing. And I met her at a storytelling open mic, but she was really nervous, and she decided that she was going to take her notes up on stage with her. And she called it her, emotional support notes. Right. And she didn't use them, or she did use them. She used them, but I wasn't going to tell her no notes.
Right. Well, first of all, you couldn't. There's no rules.
There's
I'm
no
just kidding.
rules. And I love that pushback. I had a storyteller on. She was, I met her on Twitter because I've been hit by distracted drivers a lot. So
Wow.
I make these videos that are kind of just asking drivers to be aware of their surroundings, to drive responsibly. And she had made a comment about driving at night on Twitter, and I responded back with one of my videos. And she said, "Hey man, you're stressing me out." And it turns out I was stressing her out because she had been hit by a car as a pedestrian. So we started talking, and then I asked her if she would be a guest on my podcast, Difficult Questions, and we'd talk about the stress of owning a car and driving. And so she did. And then as we were doing the podcast, I realized this person has a lot to say. She's an actor and a creative in Los Angeles, but she's not a storyteller. But I asked her, I said, when I produced my show, Frank, would you be one of the invited storytellers? And so last night was her first time ever telling a story for my show. No rules, right? Because sometimes when you're curating a show as a producer, you want people that are good at storytelling because you want to feed your audience. But part of Frank is being honest and sharing honesty and really connecting with your audience. So if you can do that, I really am not going to put rules down, right? Even timelines. We say 7-minute stories, and then the open mics. I have 3 open mic slots and 5 invited storytellers. I give the 5 invited 7 minutes each, and the open mics are supposed to be 5. But I also build enough time in that if I need to let someone go long or they go short, I don't need to flash lights in their face. Like that's not where I want the show to be. Where other storytelling shows and other comedy shows, we got to go because we got one show in the early show, then we got a mid show, then we got a late show. We've got producer after producer after producer. So yeah, that's kind of my little gift to LA storytelling is Frank. And of course that I was a huge fan of Public Enemy, and the idea of telling something meaningful, but then having this bombast side to it, the Flavor Flav side to it, kind of balances out, right? And so Frank is all about the big old bold letters, yellow Frank, and it's about getting people hyped up. And so the brand is hyped, and I'm kind of a hyped up host. So I just carry people through with this kind of gregarious, almost Flavor Flav, as no one can be Flavor Flav, but that kind of hype, and then that kind of branding helps carry people into kind of their ownership on stage. Even if they're not a bombastic storyteller, Frank will do that heavy lifting for them. And then my favorite story is I was on a bus in Sacramento. I've never produced Frank in Sacramento, but I have all my hats and my Frank paraphernalia. You know, I even have a clock like Flavor Flav. I put it on the mic stand. I don't carry it around on me, but I have all my bombastic colors and my Frank hat. And then I walk on this bus, and this guy sees me like he knows me or like I'm a celebrity. And he says, "Frank, where you been?
Oh, they think your name is Frank?
Yeah. And he's just going. And then he sees my hat, and he sees that it says Honest Stories. And he says, "Honest Franks, how's it, man? What have you been up to? It's been so." And there's this other guy sitting on the bus just looking at this thinking, what is going on right now? And of course the guy he's super excited, and he fist bumps me, and he's talking like he knows me, or he's talking like I've been on movies and whatever. And we get off the bus at the same time when this guy's sitting watching this whole thing. We get off the bus at the same time. We get off, and he says, "What was that about?" And I said, "Frank is fun for everybody." It's just that's the vibe of Frank. And I really, that's what I can give to LA storytelling. And I hope to one day take it on the road and make it a road show and really kind of bring out storytellers in each city, in each region, and set those up. That's kind of my pipe dream for Frank. And we'll see if it gets there.
Now I do have a little montage here of some of just like a few seconds from a few people, so people get I get a vibe. I hate that word. Oh my! I don't usually use that word. I hate that word because never mind. It's just the word vibe has replaced facts, and it's like I know what the reality is, but my vibe is. It's like no, fuck your vibe. The reality is, this is reality. I don't care about your vibe. Sorry, all right, sorry. Here we go. This is a little taste of Frank.
Hi, everybody. Hey. So, the absurdity that is my romantic life would blow your mind. I don't have time to tell you all the stories. I only have like 8 minutes. So I'm going to just stick with the very first one.
I was given explicit instructions to stand between these two mics, correct? Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
Cool. So you may have heard a little bit recently about this group of people called white evangelicals who are known for being this homogenous block with really bad voting habits.
My dad was, he was the kind of guy who didn't talk much. Didn't really share his experience or his emotions. He smoked Pall Mall cigarettes, always had one in the corner of his mouth. He worked nights, driving cab, so during the days, he'd sleep till noon or late afternoon. So we really didn't spend a lot of quality time together. I did know, though, when he did speak, I needed to listen because my life was in stake.
Cool. Well, a few weeks ago, I took my son to see Jojo Rabbit because, what 13-year-old kid doesn't love a Hitler comedy? Unfortunately, it was playing in one of those movie theaters where
Maybe my mother is right after all. When I'm 14, I go to a cousin's wedding in India, and relatives I've never met before come up to me and say, "You must be Shashi's daughter. You look just like him." And that's obviously what every teenage girl wants to hear. She looks like a balding, mustached, middle-aged man, but still.
Oh, just a little sample of what Now that's you recorded the same place. What's it, Playhouse?
So Frank has taken on a whole bunch of changes. When I first started, we were producing shows I would say in alleyways, but really in loud against streets, and and or on patios, really loud environments, sometimes at night, and dark environments. And so what I wanted to do, we also didn't have really showcase pieces. We were doing it live, and then we didn't have anything to show people what we had done.
Right.
So the first two Franks that I produced were 3 camera shoots of your story that I would do, and the goal was to have them in well lit, pretty quiet spaces, which was pretty unique in 2018, 19, especially in Los Angeles. Since then, some producers have really stepped up the game, and they started producing them in theaters or comedy clubs. So you're already having well lit, good sounding places. And then they already, every cameras and streaming started happening like crazy, especially after COVID. And the question of, hey, I would like to control my intellectual property and not have this story be out there became a real concern. So Frank, the first two, I gave 3 camera shoots just to give showcase pieces to storytellers so they could do what they want, try to get other gigs. Then as everyone was recording everything, I didn't need to do that anymore. And I also needed it. People wanted good pictures. They didn't want it in some screening room, which with that you saw those clips, it was in a screening room. And so they wanted it in theaters. So the past 2 or well, depending on how much money I have, because I 4-wall them, so I rent the theater. 2 of them I've put them in theaters. Last night was in a theater, and then hired a photographer. So I get them good professional pictures of them telling a story for Frank, and then that's kind of my gift to the storytellers to again help them forward their careers of being storytelling. And unlike comedy, storytelling has even kind of a worse business model, a more non-existent business model. So who knows if it's ever going to make money, but I really enjoy the storytellers, and I enjoy helping them, getting them the opportunities that they need. So if I burn money on renting a theater and getting good shots for people that I enjoy, so as long as I have cash, I'll do it. Right. At some point you need to make it sustainable.
That's the hardest part.
For right now, it's just it's more community than anything. And that's real hard because we're in the entertainment business, you have to be able to pay to do all this stuff. So always looking for where that business model is going to come out has been a challenge. Some people have really built in LA, especially they made good goes at storytelling shows. There was one, It's Funny Now, that ran for probably 2.5, 3 years. And then the producer who built it, and he had the mailing list, and he had the audience, and he had the ticket sales. He wanted to go build his 1-person show, and it was all on his back. And he just said, I can't do this anymore. So we lost that. So it's very, especially in not especially, I would say in LA, with all of these storytellers, where you could arguably think, well, there are more storytellers than not in Los Angeles and more storytellers than not in New York. We're still trying to figure out what the business model is. Like, are we getting sponsored by a theater that's going to try and sell alcohol? That's the other thing. You can be drunk in a comedy show,
right?
And it sucks for the comedian, but you can push through and you can make it work with crowd work, and it's real hard to have belligerent audience members at a storytelling show.
Yeah.
So you can't have that. You can't sell alcohol at a storytelling show. Some have figured out wine. Women and wine. Women love their wine, and they're willing to pay for it. And so there's one coming up on Saturday that it's a women and wine storytelling show. And that's a thing. I don't drink, and I'm not a woman, so those shows have nothing to do with me. So I got to find my own business model. But yeah, that the way to make it sustainable is still a trip. Sorry, there are bugs flying around, so I'm grabbing every once in a while.
You just tell them, I have Tourette's, and that way nobody will bother you. Even if they say, you can't make fun of him, he has Tourette's. Stop it. Hi, I'm GD Fenderson, Certified Forensic Humourist and host of Done Way Past Funny. You have just watched part 1 of our interview with comedian adjacent Glen Dunzweiler. Please join us as we continue our interview, and when you come back to join us, bring a friend.